Chapter 1. The First Step into Real English. In a small town, there lived a boy named Rehan. He was studying English in school. He could read English books. He could write in English. He knew many words and grammar rules. But there was one problem. He rarely spoke English in real life. In class, he answered questions quietly. At home, he spoke his mother tongue. With friends, he also spoke the local language. He thought knowing English meant reading and writing. He did not understand that real English comes alive when you use it. One day, his English teacher announced a new activity. She said, "From today, we will practice speaking in English every day. Try to use English in real life as much as possible." Rehan felt nervous. He wanted to participate, but he was afraid of mistakes. He thought, what if I speak wrong? What if people laugh at me? Many students had the same fear. The teacher smiled and said, "Mistakes are part of learning. You will improve only by speaking. Use English daily. Even small sentences count." After school, Rehan walked home slowly. He thought about the teacher's words. He remembered that he loved watching English movies. He also liked listening to English songs. But he never tried to talk in English. He only read books quietly. He realized that he had been learning English in a safe place, not in real life. He decided to take the first step. He said quietly to himself, "I will try to speak English today, even a little." That evening, he sat with his younger sister. She was learning English too. Rehan decided to start with her. He said, "Hello, how was your day?" His sister smiled. "Xing," she replied, "it was good." "How was your day?" Rehan felt a little proud. The sentences were short. The words were simple. But he felt the joy of speaking English. He continued, "I went to school. I learned new words." His sister listened and responded. They had a short conversation. Rehan realized that using English with someone he trusted was easier. The fear slowly decreased. The next day, Rehan decided to speak English with his friends at school. He felt nervous. His heart beat fast. But he remembered his teacher's advice. Mistakes are okay. Speak anyway. He greeted his friend in English. "Hi, how are you?" His friend looked surprised. Then he replied, "I am fine." "And you?" Rehan felt happy. The conversation was simple, but it was real. It was the first time he used English naturally outside the classroom. His confidence grew a little. Rehan also noticed another important thing. People understood him even if his pronunciation was not perfect. They smiled and responded. He realized that speaking is more important than being perfect. Understanding and communication mattered more than mistakes. This was a big lesson. He had always focused on grammar and spelling. Now he understood that English is meant to communicate. Communication is the real goal. At home, Rehan started small daily habits. He tried to describe things in English. When he ate breakfast, he said, "I am eating bread and milk." When he went outside, he described his surroundings. The sun is shining. The birds are singing. These simple sentences gave his brain practice. Hello. He realized that using English in daily life made learning active. Reading and writing were helpful, but speaking and thinking in English created real skill. Rehan also learned to listen carefully. He watched English cartoons and videos. He repeated sentences aloud. He tried to copy pronunciation and intonation. He realized that listening and speaking together helped memory. The words stayed longer in his mind. He practiced greeting people, asking simple questions, and responding in English. Each small conversation built confidence. After a few weeks, Rehan noticed change. He no longer hesitated to speak English. He could ask questions in class confidently. He could answer when teachers spoke in English. At home, he sometimes used English with his parents. Even short sentences felt natural. His friends began noticing and sometimes joined him in English conversations. Rehan felt proud of his progress. He learned an important truth. Using English in real life is not about perfection. It is about courage, practice, and daily use. Even small efforts make a big difference over time. Speaking English in real situations helped him remember words better, think faster, and express ideas clearly. He realized that English is not just a subject in school. It is a tool to connect with people, share ideas, and open opportunities. This was the beginning of Rehan's journey. He understood that learning English in books is only the first step. The real step is using it in real life. Speaking, listening, and thinking in English every day turns knowledge into skill. Rehan was ready to continue this journey, one sentence at a time. Using English in his life, everywhere he could. Chapter 2. Everyday English Practice. Rehan continued his journey to use English in real life. He understood that one conversation a day was not enough. He needed more practice. Coughing. He decided to create small daily habits. Every morning, he spoke to himself in English. He described his plans. Today, I will study English. I will talk to my friends in English. I will listen to an English story. These simple sentences made his mind ready for the day. Thinking in English slowly became natural. At school, Rehan started noticing opportunities to speak English everywhere. In the classroom, he answered questions confidently. If the teacher asked, "What is your favorite subject?" he replied clearly, "I like science. I enjoy learning about plants and animals." He felt proud of expressing himself without hesitation. His friends also began trying simple sentences. Soon, small groups started speaking English during breaks. Rehan realized that using English with friends made learning fun. Rehan also practiced English at home. With his family, he tried short sentences. He asked, "How was your day?" or said, "I am learning new words today." At first, his parents found it unusual, but gradually they appreciated his effort. His younger sister joined him too. They played small games in English, like naming colors, fruits, or animals. These playful exercises helped Rehan remember words and use them in sentences, naturally. Listening became another important part of practice. Y'all? Rehan watched English cartoons, short stories, and songs. He repeated sentences aloud. He copied pronunciation and tone. Slowly, he noticed that his accent improved. Words he had learned in books now came naturally in his speech. Listening and speaking together created a strong connection in his mind. It made English a living language, not just written words. Rehan also discovered the importance of asking questions in English. Whenever he didn't understand a lesson, he asked teachers or classmates, "Can you explain this in English?" Or, "What does this word mean?" Asking questions helped him practice new words and ideas in real life. His teachers appreciated his effort. They encouraged him and corrected mistakes kindly. War shummosikli ora. This created a safe environment where speaking English became easier. He also started keeping a small English notebook. Every day he wrote short sentences about his day. For example, I went to the park. I saw birds. I played football. Writing in English reinforced his speaking skills. It helped him remember new words and sentence structures. He realized that reading, writing, listening, and speaking together created a complete learning system. Each skill supported the others. Rehan's confidence grew steadily. He noticed that using English in real life improved his thinking. He began thinking in English before speaking. When he wanted to greet a friend, he automatically thought, "I will say, 'Hello! How are you?'" He didn't translate from his native language. Thinking in English made speaking faster and natural. Improve further. Once, he went to a local shop alone and tried to buy groceries using English. "Whoa," he said. "I want 2 apples and 1 loaf of bread, please." The shopkeeper smiled and replied clearly. Rehan felt proud. The experience taught him that English is not just for school. It is for real-life communication, for expressing needs, and for connecting with people. After a few months, Rehan could hold longer conversations in English. He could explain simple ideas, ask questions, and understand others. He learned an important lesson: improvement comes step by step. Daily practice. Small conversations and real-life use are more effective than only studying from books. Each day of speaking, listening, and thinking in English added confidence and skill. Rehan realized another truth: mistakes are natural. Sometimes he mispronounced words or forgot grammar rules, but he never stopped. He smiled, corrected himself, and continued. Using English in real life teaches faster than reading or writing alone. The brain remembers experiences, not just rules. Real conversations make learning alive and meaningful. By the end of the chapter, Rehan felt stronger and more confident. English was no longer a subject. It became a tool to communicate, think, and connect with people. The habit of using English daily turned his knowledge into real skill. He was ready for bigger challenges. He was ready to speak English everywhere, at school, at home, with friends, and in the world outside. This was the next step in Rehan's journey. Real-life practice was the key. Daily use, small conversations, listening, asking questions, and speaking with courage turned learning into living English. Como? Rehan now understood that using English every day, in small ways, creates a strong foundation for fluency and confidence. Chapter 3. Overcoming Fear and Speaking. Confidently, as Rehan continued to use English in daily life, he faced new challenges. Sometimes he felt nervous, especially when to strangers or adults. His heart beat fast. His hands felt shaky. He feared but he remembered the lessons he had learned. Mistakes are part of learning. And every conversation is practice. He decided not to avoid English just because it was difficult. One day, Rehan went to a library. He wanted to ask the librarian for help finding English books. He took a deep breath and said, "Hello. Can you help me find books about animals?" The librarian smiled and replied politely. Rehan felt proud. He realized that real-life use of English builds courage. Speaking to strangers in English is different from speaking to friends. Each successful conversation made him more confident. Rehan also joined a small English club at school. The club encouraged students to speak English freely. Every week they practiced dialogues, short speeches, and role plays. At first, Rehan was quiet. He worried about mistakes, but slowly he joined discussions. He practiced asking questions, sharing ideas, and responding to others. He learned an important lesson. Confidence comes from repeated practice, not sudden perfection. He noticed another helpful trick: preparation. Before conversations, he thought about what he wanted to say. He made short notes in his mind. For example, when talking about his weekend, he remembered key sentences. I went to the park. I played football. I saw birds and flowers. This preparation made him speak more fluently. It reduced fear. The brain remembers sequences better when we plan in advance. Listening also helped his confidence. Rehan watched English shows and repeated sentences aloud. He learned common phrases used in everyday life. Greetings, questions, and simple conversations. This made speaking easier. He did not need to think about grammar all the time. Instead, he remembered patterns and sentences naturally. Rehan also realized the importance of small steps. He started by speaking short sentences. Then he combined them into longer sentences. He asked questions. He shared his thoughts. He listened carefully and replied. Each small effort added up. Confidence grew slowly but steadily. Mistakes became less scary because he knew they were part of learning. Another strategy Rehan used was positive thinking. Whenever he felt nervous, he said to himself, "I can speak English. I am learning every day. Mistakes help me improve." Positive thoughts reduced fear. They gave courage to speak even when he felt unsure. Over time, nervousness decreased and confidence increased. Naturally, Rehan also learned from observing others. He noticed how fluent speakers spoke clearly, used simple words, and smiled. He copied their style. He did not try to sound perfect. He focused on being understood. This helped him relax. He realized that English is a tool for communication, not a test of perfection. Diplomas Akko. By practicing daily, using simple sentences, listening carefully, preparing, and thinking positively, Rehan became a confident speaker. He could speak with teachers, friends, and strangers comfortably. He could explain ideas, ask questions, and respond naturally. Home. Mistakes still happened, but they no longer stopped him. Each conversation was practice and improvement. After several months, Rehan noticed a big change. Speaking English no longer made him anxious. He felt confident in real-life situations. He could express his thoughts clearly. He could participate in discussions. He could help friends with English. Most importantly, he enjoyed using English in everyday life. It was no longer a subject in school. It was part of his life. Rehan understood a key lesson. Fluency comes from courage, practice, and real-life use. Fear decreases when you speak regularly, even with mistakes. Confidence grows when small steps are taken every day. Real-life conversations teach faster than classroom exercises. Using English in daily life turns knowledge into a living skill. This stage of Rehan's journey taught him that speaking confidently is not about knowing everything. It is about trying, making mistakes, correcting them, and continuing. Every conversation builds courage and skill. With daily practice, preparation, and positive thinking, anyone can overcome fear and speak English confidently. Rehan was ready for the next stage, using English in all areas of life, not just school or friends. He knew that fluency comes with experience, and he was determined to continue his journey. Chapter 4. English in every part of life. By now, Rehan had grown confident in speaking English at school, and with friends. But he knew the real test was using English everywhere in life. He wanted English to become a natural part of his daily routine, not something he only used in class. He decided to challenge himself. He made a plan to practice English in different places and situations every day. At home, he started thinking in English. When he cooked, he said aloud, "I am making eggs. I will add salt. Now I will pour water. Now I will pour water." He described small actions in simple sentences. At first, it felt strange, but soon his brain began to think in English automatically. Daily activities became practice sessions. Even chores turned into English lessons. He also practiced with family members. He asked simple questions like, "What did you eat today?" Or, "Can you help me with this?" At first, his family mixed English and their native language. But slowly, they joined him in full sentences. His sister started speaking English when they played games. His parents appreciated the effort and encouraged him. Rehan realized that using English at home built comfort and trust. It was a safe environment for practice. Rehan also explored speaking English in public. At the local market, he greeted shopkeepers in English. He said, "Hello, how are you?" Or, "I want 2 tomatoes, please." The shopkeepers smiled and responded. He practiced asking prices, requesting items, and thanking them. These short, real-life conversations helped him overcome hesitation. He realized that English is not just a school subject. It is a tool for communication everywhere. Traveling was another opportunity. When he went on trips with his family, Rehan spoke English to ask for directions, buy tickets, and order food. Simple sentences like, "Where is the bus station?" or "I want 1 ticket, please," became easy. Each new situation taught him new words and phrases. Real life practice expanded his vocabulary naturally. He noticed that using English outside of school made learning faster and memorable. Rehan also joined online groups and social clubs where people spoke English. He participated in small discussions, asked questions, and answered in English. Talking with people from different places was challenging at first. Some spoke fast, used new words, or had accents he had never heard. But he listened carefully, repeated sentences aloud, and asked politely when he did not understand. He learned to adapt his English to different situations. Reading and writing continued to support him. He wrote simple diary entries about his day in English. He read short stories, articles, and news online. Writing reinforced words he had learned, and reading exposed him to new phrases. Combining speaking, listening, reading, and writing strengthened all his skills. English was no longer separate subjects. It became a complete part of his life. Rehan also learned that mistakes were still part of learning, even in real life. Sometimes he forgot words, mispronounced, or used grammar wrongly. But instead of being embarrassed, he laughed and corrected himself. Each mistake became a lesson. He realized that confidence grows when you accept errors and continue practicing. Courage, not perfection, is the key to real-life English. After months of daily use, Rehan's progress was remarkable. He could hold conversations with teachers, friends, shopkeepers, and even strangers. He could explain ideas clearly, ask questions naturally, and respond without hesitation. English had become a part of his daily life. He thought, spoke, and expressed himself in English freely. Learning was no longer passive, it was active and real. Finally, Rehan understood the greatest lesson. Using English in real life transforms knowledge into skill. Reading and writing alone teach rules. Speaking and listening bring confidence. Thinking in English makes it automatic. Combining all these practices, every day builds fluency. Small daily conversations, practice at home, in public, and with friends create real progress. Rehan felt proud and motivated. He knew his journey would continue. There were always new words, situations, and people to practice with. But he also knew the secret. English becomes easy when you use it in real life. Courage, patience, and consistent practice turn knowledge into skill, mistakes into lessons, and fear into confidence. Now, from a boy afraid to speak to a young learner, using English naturally in every part of life, Rehan's journey showed one truth. Fluency is not learned in books alone. It is learned in life, one conversation at a time, every day, everywhere. Using English in real life opens doors, builds confidence, and turns learning into living,